guides sales and marketing organizations in small startups, and he has worked with large companies like IBM, SAP, Microsoft, CGI, and Oracle. Steve is profiled as a demand generation thought leader, and recently worked as VP Sales and Marketing for Ryerson startup SpeechPoker, and for Microsoft ISV Secure Vantage Technologies. Steve earned his honors Bachelor of Mathematics, Computer Science, and Business at the University of Waterloo, and currently represents Math Alumni and the University Alumni Council. As the president of UW MathSoc during his undergrad, he was the person responsible for making the pink tie math undergrad symbol. So for all of you mathies, this is math. Steve advises many startups like Sweet Tooth, Top Hat Monaco, and many more, including my own startup, Vetica. He also mentors many aspiring young entrepreneurs as well. And believe me, his advice is practical and sound. And in fact, this is how I met him, through one of these events. So be sure to get to know him afterwards. And today we have the great pleasure of having him here to talk about innovation on entrepreneurship. Please join me in welcoming Steve Lightstone.
I'm going to try to go without a mic, so give me a couple seconds to try to talk to you and see if it works for you, those of you in the back. Are you okay with me going without mic?
Yeah.
Okay, great. That way I can mess up the camera and walk all over the place. So thank you very much, William, and thanks to the organizers of this event. I really appreciate the time to chat with you today. I've given flavors of this presentation at a number of different conferences. I gave this at DECA last year, at CUTC last year, and it usually takes 45 minutes or an hour to go through the presentation. More often than not, I spend more time than that, an hour or an hour and a half after, just answering questions of people. So it's always been well received, and I hope you enjoy it. It's really just going to be a bunch of stories about fellow entrepreneurs. A lot of stories of young entrepreneurs. You might know some of the people that we talk about. We're going to talk about William and his company, so you will get the sales pitch on Planboard, and that'll be given by me. And so I'm going to talk about just their stories, and mostly it's about some element of their story that's innovative. You know, it's all well and good you can be an entrepreneur, but to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to innovate somewhere. So we'll walk through this together. Firstly, though, I want to have a contest. So up for grabs, two Tim Hortons cards. First two people that put a tweet together with these two images. Okay. So start tweeting, and at the end of the presentation, if my batteries don't run out, I should be able to check and announce the winner. I do that. There's a method that matters though for this contest. So traditionally, vendors, presenters, people at conferences, what they've done in the past to do a contest is they have a fishbowl and everybody puts their business card in the fishbowl. You might have seen those things. And the idea is you gather leads from the fishbowl. At the end of the night, you give out an iPad, or I'm not giving out an iPad, you give out something, but in return you got a fishbowl full of business cards. And I learned this approach from a team at Velocity a couple of years ago. What I love about this is I'm using Twitter to get my name out, and also the UW Entrepreneurship Society's name out. And so my name is going to be broadcast to all the people that are following you, all of those that are tweeting. And what I think is great about this is it's a great way to get your name out, great way for promotions. People my age don't think this way. You, in your age, you think about these new, creative, innovative ways to accelerate and enhance your business. Grayer guys like me don't think this way. And you have an edge. And you're the first generation that's had this kind of edge because of the technology, because of Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, because of some of the infrastructure that's in place. So we'll talk about some of those stories. Today you might recognize some of the logos here. We're gonna go through and talk about stories on each of these. and maybe a few more. Before we do, I have two hobbies. One hobby is collecting unique, innovative business models and business ideas. And the other is I'm a terrible amateur photographer. And so interspersed through my presentation are pictures and photographs that I take. This is one of them. Anybody recognize this place? It's on Queen Street in Toronto, just east of the Dog Valley Parkway. I love this. I love this coffee shop. I love the name of it. Now, my mother would hate the name of it. But from a business perspective, what I really love about this, and the lesson that I draw from this, is that as a business person, you don't want to try to appeal to everybody. If you try to, in your product or service, to appeal to everybody, you're going to appeal to nobody. What you want is to appeal to, and it sounds counterintuitive, but you want to appeal to the smallest group that you can. The smaller the group that you can appeal greatly to, the more successful you'll be. And in fact, what this coffee shop does is it's actually divisive. And it's going to make some people love them, and I love them because of the name, and some people hate them. And in that divisiveness is promotion. The people that hate them are going to talk about them, and it's still promotion. So there's some other examples. Here's a few other examples of products that may be divisive. Some people love them, some people hate them. Stop me if you like something. So here's a few, and I'm keen to look for new ones. If anybody has any other ideas of other products that are divisive by its nature, then please let me know, because I want to add it. So this is another photo from in front of my home. This is Nico's gardening. Now the light's not great here, but for those of you who can't see, so this is a sod guy. This guy sells grass. And for those of you who can't see, his van is covered by turf, by fake grass. He's glued fake grass onto the sides of his van. I love that. I love Nico for that. Contrast that with another picture taken from outside my house. A couple of years ago, I had a quote from College Pro Painters. And this is what the person from College Pro Painters drove up in. So think about the two personas, how are the two, Nico and the College Pro Painter person, representing themselves? What lessons from a business perspective can you draw from that? And what comments can I have? What do you think? What do you see? What can you learn from the difference, the contrast of the two strategies? Yeah?
I don't know, I'd say one is real.
You say one is real.
Yeah.
So what does that mean, real?
Well, I guess he's not really demonstrating that he's in the trade of a college pro painter.
College pro is not demonstrating that he's in the trade of painting.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the Jaguar.
Yeah, with the Jag. Okay. Yeah.
Looks like college pro painters are going to cost quite a bit.
College pro painters is going to cost quite a bit. Absolutely. I certainly question the profit margins and how much I'm going to be charged for it. More comments? Yeah.
Looks like Nico's trying to make sense of selling the product. College for selling services, he wants to instill confidence that he's successful with getting stuff.
So that's a great comment. So Nico is selling a product, and he's showing the copy. He's showing the comment. He's showing the product, and he can show that on the 401 or the QW, wherever everybody's driving is promoting. And College Pro is selling a service. Like real estate agents, they want to exude some kind of success. Okay? What other comments? Yeah?
Well, I was going with Prashant. It shows credibility, because if they're college, you don't really want college guys painting your house. They might screw up, they might not be professional. But if you see, they're successful, it might show them, well, they might have some experience previously, which might give them a little bit more credibility than showing up.
So they're showing credibility because they've got past successes.
Exactly.
Any other comments? So, yeah, go
I was
ahead.
going to say that, just as the consumer is seeing this, what pops to me in the first one is you see grass. He's here to give me this grass, right? And the second one, you see money. Oh, he's here to take money and buy cars with it.
Yeah. So one is selling grass, the other one is taking money. Yeah. So the success thing I get to. Yeah. Go ahead.
I say the guy selling the grass is also being unique and taking a creative approach.
Yeah.
Whereas the college pro painter, is kind of staying in quality norm. He's just trying to look professional and business-like as these other professionals and businessmen do.
Yeah. So Nico is unique in how he's promoting, and College Pro person is kind of just following the norm. So, my comment on it is College Pro's branding is all about student-run business. And they're taking advantage of the consumer and the emotions of the consumer. Oh, not only am I going to get my home painted, but I'm going to help out a starving student. So I don't buy the success argument. It works for a real estate agent and lots of other services, and it's a good place. But because of College Pro's branding, the way they brand their company, it really contrasts not well with their branding. So I think this is I'm a capitalist. I totally believe in College Pro painter person, being successful enough to own a Jag. That's absolutely. But don't put it in the face of, so to somebody's comment about, they're going to charge me too much money. That's exactly my reaction as a consumer. Wait a second, where's the starving student here? This doesn't work. And my suggestion is, College Pro painter person should buy a $2,000 van, take a mallet to it, just bang some dents in it, take a couple of cans of paint, throw some paint on the side, and just make it look as bashed up as possible. As if they, all they do is live, breathe, and eat painted 24 hours a day all through the summer. So that's the lesson I get from that. So I wanted to tell a couple of other stories. So this is my alma mater, so I'm going to talk a lot about more about what I'll do in this presentation than I would in other places. But this is a couple of stories of people that I went to school with. This is one of the stories that we were talking about. So this is a friend of mine, started the same year. We still stay in touch. Kevin Tereski. And do you know who that is on the left side? Anybody recognize that name? Yeah? Okay, that's yeah. So Oscars, they always have the technical awards, and you see a little short clip of the technical awards that happened a couple of days before. My friend Kevin started we were in Village 2 together, which is Ronite Village now, South E. He and his roommate hated each other in first year. They put so much that they put some masking tape down the center of their room so that they couldn't cross the road. And then a few years later, fourth year, loved computer graphics. Just ate up the fourth year graphics course, which was like insanely primitive to this, to what you have now. Anyways, then he went into the graphics world. He started with a company called Alias Wavefront, and he worked his way up, and he ended up becoming, in the mid-90s, the general manager for a tool called Maya. And at the time, Maya was absolutely the gold standard for CG in movies. Every nominated film for animation used Maya as their tool to do all their CG. And he was effectively the chief engineer for Maya. Over the course of 10 or 12 years, he built up and he became the chief engineer. And he was the company representative that went down to Hollywood to receive the Oscar. And that Oscar night, there was only one clip of one award from the technical awards the night before. It was him. So he actually got broadcast on all over the world to the 500 million people that watched him. So all I think about is this guy was such a computer science guy. He wasn't an entrepreneur. He was such a techie. He's all his time in the lab doing graphic stuff. And when he graduated from here, he couldn't have imagined achieving. Who would even dream of achieving that much? I'm gonna graduate and I'm gonna get an Oscar. I mean, and so there's that, dream, proof that you can dream high, dream big. And also, the other question I have is, what does he do now? How much more can he achieve? What's his next? Okay, so he's got, he owns a lake near Peterborough, and he owns all the property around his lake and a nice cottage. He's done really well. But I just find that's really neat. Actually, come to think of it, last week, I was at another conference and another story came up that I thought was relevant. Back in the mid-'80s, Bill Gates set an objective for his company to put a PC in every home. And I was reminded of that last weekend. And I remember back in '85 when he set that objective, how ridiculously ambitious that objective was. And look at now, in a few short years later, it's absolutely achieved. So another example of absolutely dream big. So here's a picture. Anybody by pure chance, recognize this? This is a cottage country photo. This is a bowling alley in Bancroft, Ontario, north of Belleville. And this is a story about another friend from university. He became the ombudsman, a very high achiever as an undergrad. He went on to sell beer for Labatt's. He was at Labatt's for that 15-year period that Labatt's was very profitable. And he worked his way up through the ranks, and he became VP of sales for all of Labatt's for Canada. And he was flying around private jets, and he went to the Canada U.S. gold medal game in Salt Lake City, doing all kinds of stuff. And then he pulled the pin, and when his kids were in grade 11, 9, and 8, he sold everything in Toronto and bought the bowling alley in Bancroft. And I went and visited him, this was a couple of winters ago, and he's having the time of his life. Him and his wife and his kids are just having a great time. And it turns out that the customers of the bowling alley are locals and not cottagers. So the locals only bowl in the wintertime when they have nothing else to do. So the bowling alley closes in the summer. So he has summers off. And the only time that they open in the summer is when it's raining on his dock, on his house. There's a sign here, summer hours for this. But I think it's a story about success and making sure that you don't lose sight of what's important to you. Do the entrepreneurial thing. If that's what you want to do the entrepreneurial thing, or go into corporate world and achieve there. But don't lose sight of what your goals are. Why are you doing it? If you want to be on a beach and spend 20 years on a beach after you've been successful, you want to sail around the world, do that. This guy did this. This guy's living the dream. This is Burrito Boys in Port Credit. I love Burrito Boys. I love the food, but I think what's great about them, and there's some kind of secret sauce there. It's kind of like, for those of you who don't know it, you walk in, you place your order, and then there's all kinds of different variants and combinations of condiments that you can put on it. And they wrap it up, put it on a grill, and there's 30 others on the grill. And they keep it organized. And I have yet to see an error occur. And this is a job. This isn't a high-paying, high-qualification job. This is but still, they're executing with excellence. Somehow, the leadership there are motivating the staff at Burrito Boys, at least mine, at least the Port Credit Burrito Boys. They're executing with excellence. And that's so important in any business that you start up. And I'm still trying to figure out what they do to motivate the team. Compared to McDonald's, and a couple of years ago, I was on the road in the States. I needed a drink. I just wanted a pop. I went in and I went to the counter and I said, I'd like a medium Diet Coke, please. And the person on the other side of the counter said, is that for here or to go? The exact opposite of executing with excellence. And I just so I like the comparison. Okay, so let's get into this in more detail. So the first story is Little Mismatch. Anybody admit to being a customer of Little Mismatch? So Little Mismatch sells mismatched socks. They sell it online, and they sell to young girls 4 to 12. And the whole idea is they go into these girls go to their classmates at school, and they lift up their pants, and they say, "Look what I'm wearing," and they show it off. And there's an element of virality as a result of that. So what's unique and innovative about this company is they don't sell 2, they sell 3. So now these customers have three pairs of socks to choose from. And most importantly to the business, instead of an average revenue per transaction being maybe $4, maybe $5, maybe $6, the average revenue per transaction is maybe $8, maybe $9, maybe $10. I think this is just one little idea that really changes the whole dynamic of the business. Talk about virality. Okay. So I just came from judging the Queen's Entrepreneur competition last weekend. And I wanted to tell you about the winner, and I want to tell you about one other company, because I think they're really innovative. This company was the clear winner. Anybody know what that is? Can anybody describe to me what that thing is, that picture? Coincidentally, I have a friend that works at the Cancer Research Lab at Sunnybrook, and in November I had a tour of this. This is a rack of little squares. They look like shoeboxes almost, where they grow mice. Mice for all, genetically engineered mice for all of their experiments. And what these guys from Mouse House, which is from University of Chicago, the winners of the competition last weekend, they have an iPad app that helps manage these colonies of mice. And there's like 30,000, some of these colonies in some of these research labs have 30,000 mice that they're controlling. And typically the way they do it now is spreadsheets or cards, little handwritten cards on the sides of these boxes. And so to go from cards or complex spreadsheets to an iPad app is massively a massive change. So often these things cost $300,000 to manage, and they can take 20% off the cost of managing the colonies of mice. And they do neat things like they can you press on one of this, you can see the lineage, you can see which mice from which other box, and that's real. That lineage is really important to the research side. Other cool things. One of the stories they say that was really neat is, so on the business side, it's SaaS. It's a SaaS-based product. They're aggregating data from all of their customers. They're just in beta now, by the way. But the plan is they're going to aggregate data from all of their customers to do things like to determine when is a mouse going to give birth and when is a mouse going to die. So now they'll be able to estimate when the mouse is going to die, so that the people that maintain it can go to the right rack, the right box, and pull out the dead mouse. All kinds of efficiencies with that, but pretty cool. So one of the challenges that they had that they never expected was they tried to go into these labs to sell this software, and the biggest reaction was they actually got stopped by security, by lab security and by police before they got in, because the labs were afraid that they were animal rights activists. So the biggest issue that they had in selling this thing was just getting into the door, because they thought they were animal rights activists that were that were in camouflage. Another story from the Queen's Entrepreneur Competition that I wanted to bring up was a new company. There's not even code around it. It's just an idea called Encore. It doesn't really matter what it's about. What I thought was really innovative was the way that they brought virality into their product and into their marketing. And the idea was this was a mobile app for end users, and he wanted to bring to spread this community of users. So he had to design custom QR codes that every user would acquire, and then they could get referrals by just having their friends scan their personal custom QR code. And there'd be a points and a reward system behind that. So you get points for every referral. And on top of that, you can print out posters with your own QR code. So you can start going around your own campus with your own QR code, promoting this app. And anybody that scanned the QR code on the poster would then, points would be acquired by the person that printed the poster out. So I thought that was a really, what I see in business plans, and when I judge competitions, is people say, oh, we'll use social. We'll go viral because we'll have a great Facebook page and we'll tweet. And they don't think about it any deeper than this. And this guy thought about virality deeper. He thought about custom QR codes and how he can bring virality to the promotion of his service. Anybody admit to being a Ravelry customer? I'm a Ravelry user. I've been a proud member for about 3 years. So Ravelry is a company or a website that helps knitters, and it doesn't sell much. It sells nothing much more than these buttons that you see. And but they have as of about 2 years ago, they have 750,000 page visits a day. They get 1,500 new members added every day. Imagine the numbers that they're dealing with. It's run by 2 people. It's a couple out of Chicagoland somewhere. She's the knitter, he's the techie. And what's made them so successful is that they've created a delightful user experience. You go on as a knitter and it's delightful. You're sharing your patterns, you're sharing your experiences, you show pictures of your scarves that you've just knitted, and the users love it. And I didn't believe this. And so a week or so after I'd heard about this company, I was at Starbucks in Cambridge. This picture's from the Starbucks in Cambridge. And in the corner was 4 knitters. And they were knitting away and chatting and having a tea. And I went up to them and I said, I'm sorry, excuse me, I have to interrupt your day. I'm curious. I heard about this website. Have you ever heard of Ravelry.com? And they just lit up. They were so excited about talking about Ravelry. 10 minutes later, and they all whipped open their knitting bags, their wool bags, and on the inside of their wool bags were all these Ravelry buttons. And so very excited, very passionate about the website and the usage. But imagine that volume, 750,000 page views a day, 1,500 new members a day. Even if they're just selling this for $1, the volumes that they can build up. It's great business. Anybody recognize this? Dollar Shave Club customer?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, so this is a great one. These guys are disrupting the Gillette model. There's the classic razor and the blade model, which is what Gillette does for men's shavers is they charge next to nothing for the razor. That's at a loss, but then they make all their monies with the ongoing repetitive blades that they sell. It's kind of like printers and ink. It's the same kind of thing. Sell the printer at a loss, make the money off your ink. I urge you, if you want to be entertained, go to this website, dollarshave.com, and play the video that's on that page. The branding is beautiful. This is an image from the video. You can probably get a sense of the branding that's going on and how it's appealing to it. So it's beautifully integrated. And one of the things I love about this is it's so simple. They're not trying to bring complexity to their business at all. They're bringing virality into it and making lots of people get to know it. But they're just selling shaving blades, and it's a subscription model. $10 a month, $12 a month, and you get your blades in the mail. And so the reason why they're disrupting the Gillette model is because they're not selling the razor. They're just selling the blades at much less than what Gillette's charging. Great little piece of disruption, simple business, and another good story, but yet different innovation. Similar, Barbie Parker. They're disrupting the prescription glass business because they're taking out all the intermediaries. They're manufacturing the glasses and they are selling it right to customers online. And one of the things I love about this business, the innovation that I like about this is they do a try 5. And so you go online, you get 5 different ones, you have them shipped to you, and you keep as many as you want. And they'll refund you for the other, the 4 that you send back, or the 3 or the 2 or the 1 you send back. It makes it dead easy to buy online. So I'll just go through this. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but this was some of their numbers from their annual report a year ago. You can see the growth in Facebook likes. 51,000 in December from 6,600 Facebook likes. most likes in one day, 3,300. This was a year ago. This was like 3 months into the release of their website. So interesting how I wanted to show this just because they're really serious about measuring social and measuring how people are talking about them. Okay, so Mud Trucks is a relatively new company in New York, and you see, they've got a cool branding. You can see a lot of the branding. There's some branded T-shirts, but their business is selling coffee, and they do two things that I think are cool. One is that at rush hour they park right at the top of the subway stairs. So as masses of people empty out of the subways and go up the stairs onto the street, they're right there selling their coffees. The other thing that they do is cool is that they've looked at and analyzed where the Starbucks locations are, and they've located their trucks strategically, halfway point or in front of, so that they can steal a lot of Starbucks permanent business, right? Or the business that they go to the permanent locations. They're taking advantage, they're leveraging that strength of being global. Here's another example, Kogi Barbecue out of Los Angeles. What Kogi does, it's one of the few businesses that have actually been successful and made a business out of Twitter, and by using Twitter. What they do is they've built a reputation, great Korean barbecue food, and they tweet where their truck is going to be next. So we're going to be at the corner of Park and 3rd at 1:20. We're going to be at the corner of Madison and 7th at 1:40. And literally, there are people, lines of people, waiting for them at those corners, waiting for the truck to show up. So they're appealing to a much broader audience, and they're really leveraging Twitter to move their business forward. So here's Plan Board. William, here's your, there you are. So, so they do lesson planning for teachers, K to 12. A couple things I love about the business. It's a SaaS model as well, so it's subscription. So it's dead easy to get involved, to test and whatnot. What I love about it is that it appeals to two different groups. It appeals to the individual end user. It appeals to a teacher. So a teacher can come on, and if he or she wants to use the product, they can. And it's $30 a year, and they're using it great. And at the same time, they're appealing to school boards. So entire school boards can get this. And because they're appealing to the individual users, they can create a groundswell. They're creating a bottom-up demand for their solution, and it has to be paid attention to by the school districts. Wonderfully elegant on that side. The other thing that's happening. So two other comments. The other thing is that these individual users are, because they're teachers, it's an interesting community. That community has a bit greater a tendency to talk amongst themselves, to use social to compare notes, to chat. And so that community can be leveraged into viral selling of their solution. So I love that. If this was a product that was selling to 55-year-old engineers and engineering managers, that might not play because they don't necessarily tweet amongst themselves and blog and whatnot. But they're leveraging a really neat community. The other thing that I think is really cool about this business, and as another element to look for as you think about your entrepreneurial venture, is that what's coming in 2014 in Ontario and in 48 states is a common curriculum, so a standardized curriculum. So every teacher in 48 states is going to have to teach these 50 elements of biology and those 50 elements of English. And it's going to be mandated. It is going to be mandated. So what I like about this is that there's this business event that's going to happen at a distinct time that Plan Board's customers have to make a decision on. They have to decide to do something in an automated fashion to optimize their lesson plan. And they've got these great features that they have the standard curriculum on one side, and the teachers just have to pull from the standard curriculum into their day, into their lesson plan. It's a beautifully elegant way. But what's nice is they've got a definitive and distinctive business event that's occurring that forces the marketplace to make a decision. So there's a lot of pieces, there's a lot of elegance, or a lot of pieces to the business that brings overall elegance to it. Okay, Date.com. This is one of the most innovative companies I've ever seen. I love companies that where the owners, it's one guy, the owners, Waterloo grad, the owners make money while they sleep. So this is going to take a few minutes to walk through. There's 3 wonderful innovations that this guy did to put this together. So his business, the way he makes money is, he makes money selling leads to companies. Those leads are qualified customers to companies. He did an analysis of many industries and determined that online dating services was an industry that was willing to spend good money on leads. Turns out they'll spend $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 a lead. Now, so he's done 3 innovative things. The first is, how does he attract customers, how does he attract visitors to his website? Well, he does that by taking advantage of the long tail. He has 1,000 websites. He maintains 1,000 websites. He's the best SEO guy I've ever met. And he's He's maybe 27 years old, 26. Best SEO guy, 1,000 websites, and this one is one of the 1,000. Toronto Asian singles, but he also has one for gay Dallas singles, another one for Jewish New York singles, and he's got so he's got 1,000 of them. So what it means is if one he's all he's doing is organic search. He's got all these 1,000 on page 1 of these searches. There's roughly 60 million searches for online dating every month. He's not going after online dating. He's not going after that keyword. It's too competitive. Even if he got it, if he lost page 1 for that, he'd lose his entire business. He's going after the long tail. He's going after those smaller ones, the Toronto Asian singles, the gay Dallas singles, all those. He's going after the long tail, and so he's getting still access to millions and millions of queries. He's driving all this traffic. If one falls off, he's still got 999, and he pulls everyone in. So he's constantly got this 1,000. So it's just this fabulous machine of driving traffic to his sites. So that's innovation number 1. Innovation number 2 is what does he do when he gets to the site? A couple things. One is the sites all look the same. At the bottom, you can just see it, but there's Joyce Laveau. Joyce has put in her profile, and there are other profiles on this site. And what's nice about this is that the site is structured so that users input the content. He's not inputting content. He's not creating content. But it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. His users are inputting the content. The content is relevant to the search keywords, which makes them even end up higher up on the organic search. So user-created content, he just produces the skeleton that the users create. So that's one piece of it. The other piece is that what he ultimately wants to do is he wants them to fill this out. When they fill this piece out, meet singles in Toronto, join now for free. Once he's got this, he's got the information that they need, and he's got the qualified lead. He can now sell it to his customers as a qualified lead, an honest, true, qualified lead. If somebody's put their hand up and say, yes, I want to join. But notice that it doesn't say allow the life, or it doesn't say match. It doesn't say which online environment. Okay, so I've told you 2 of the 3 innovations. One is long tail, 1,000 websites, driving traffic driving traffic, wonderful. The second is these 2 elements of content, user-created content that's relevant, that improves the SEO scores, and how he captures this. And obviously, only a fraction of his visitors are going to fill this in. Most of them are going to do this, but it's a big enough number that he's making a lot of money. So here's the 3rd innovation, and I think it's the best of the 3 innovations. So you'd think that what he then does with these leads is he packages the lead up, and he's got a contract with Lav or Match or whoever, and he says, I'm going to give you X leads every week, and you're going to pay me this much money. You'd think he'd do that. That's the simple way. But he thought, what? If I do that, then my customer has a bit more power in my relationship than I would want. They could say, what? I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to pay you $6 a week. I'm only going to pay you $4. Too bad. So what he's done is he's created an online market for his customers, on kind of an eBay. He's got 20 customers, and every week they bid on the packet of leads that he produces that week. And so he gets the highest value, and he has all the power in that vendor, the vendor-customer relationship. Wonderfully innovative. It's an amazing thing. Okay, next. This is Albert Lau. I saw him at Accelerator Center a year or so ago. He's from London, young guy, as you can see. He sold his first gaming company a couple of years ago for a bunch of money. He's running Big Viking Games. And there's 2 innovations that I think are important in his story. His business model is free to play. You probably know what free to play is. You can play for free, but if you want to get the extra wand or the extra ammunition, you have to pay money for it, whatever it is. So that's how he makes money, is revenue on add-ons. One innovation is how he funded his company. And you got to think about funding is a critical part of your business. You realize that the Ontario government will give 60%, 60 cents on every dollar for gaming companies as part of the funding. And typically, like programs like IRAP are all for, and SHRED are all for R&D. This is for R&D and sales and marketing. So like the Ontario government is funding his business at 60 cents on the dollar. He only has to fund 40 cents on the dollar. Wonderful. The other thing I like about what he's done is he calls it viral engineering. He's really engineered his product for virality. The key thing in his business for virality is at what point in the gaming experience does the game ask the user, when do I invite a friend to play? When do I tell a friend about this product? And he's constantly searching for the optimum time to do that. And so what he does in order to do that is he does split testing, A/B testing. He's got essentially two versions of his game that he's constantly testing it. And the only difference is at what point in the experience does he ask the user to tell a friend. And one wins, one loses. He throws out the losing one and brings in another option. He's constantly A/B testing, constantly searching for the optimal thing because it changes. But I really like that idea of this A/B testing. If you're, anybody that's doing anything or thinking about doing anything that's SaaS, that's dead easy to do. Anybody recognize this person? Who is it?
Everybody's the guy ordered the
Oh, okay. No, so
and he spoke at Fusion.
he spoke at Fusion. He speaks a lot. So his name is Ray Cow. I think he's like 2010 engineering grad. And he was part of Impact. He was the president of Impact a few years ago. And Looksbox is wonderful. So this is his business. A great little business model. So what he's doing is, when you go to a department store, you go through the cosmetics area, and there's free giveaways of little pieces of little cosmetics. Well, what he does is he puts a box together once a month of all these free samples of different products, and he sends it out to his customers. His customers pay a subscription. They pay $10, $20, $30 a month to get this box. So he gets revenue that way. He also gets revenue from the manufacturers of the samples, because those manufacturers want to distribute the samples. So he's getting money, he's making money while he sleeps, and he's getting money from both ends in a beautiful way. His customers, typical well-off women, middle-aged women, talk about this. They share this, and others in the same marketplace come on board with this as customers. And it's gone crazy. These, I don't know, what's the right term? So there's these unwrapping videos on YouTube where, the Apple, the iPhone, somebody... Unboxing videos?
Yes.
There's unboxing videos for Looksbox now, which is great, right? So he's wonderful in business. Very smart. This one, the picture on the left is my photo, Lululemon. We all know it, yoga apparel. What I like about them is, and why I wanted to show them is that they've implemented this concept of a playbook really beautifully. And what they did is, the first store years ago was in Burnaby, BC. Before they opened the store, they did a couple of really smart things. They hired specifically yoga enthusiasts. They wanted people that were passionate about yoga to run the store. Okay, good. Because then what they did was they took those enthusiasts and they went and they told them, go out to the neighborhood and find the people that were influencers. Find the studio owners, find the class instructors. Who are the influencers? And they gave out yoga clothing, the branded Lululemon yoga clothing that we all know. So now the local influencers are wearing the clothing. And they took it one step even further. They took a photograph of that influencer in their clothing. And they hung up those photographs. They blew them up big size. They hung them up in the local store. So this is a picture. You can see a couple of people in the background of that store. And this is a picture I took. This is a student. This is from the Lululemon store on St. Catharines in Montreal. And it's somebody from the Concordia University's cross-country team running in Lululemon clothing. And what they took that, they figured out, they learned all their lessons at Burnaby. They put it in a book, and that was their playbook. They figured out how to roll out successfully, quickly, a store. And they just replicated that playbook over and over and over again to the success that they are now. So think about your ideas, your business. Can you turn this into a playbook? Can you turn your business into a playbook? Learn and just repeat over and over and over again. There's something about scalability. These guys figured out scalability in a nice way. Anybody recognize this person? It's not a Waterloo person, but he's spoken at Waterloo years ago. Yeah, what was that? Louder? Guy Kawasaki, yeah. So Guy Kawasaki, one of the first things he did was he was an early evangelist for Apple Macintosh back in the late 80s. He founded Garage.com, he founded a venture capitalist firm. But one of the businesses he has that I'm fascinated by is this business Alltop. This is a second example of how to make money using Twitter. So one of the challenges of any business that's trying to do a business based on advertising revenue, like Google AdWords, is you got to, you're taking such a small percentage of the revenue from AdWords on such a small percent, on so few click-throughs when somebody visits your site, that the volume of site visits that you have to generate is absolutely massive for you to make any money on AdWords. But he's figured out how. So what he does was, all he does is he goes around the country and he talks about how to use Twitter to different audiences. How to use Twitter to improve your business. And the essence of his message is write a blog and then have your blog, promote that on your site, but also tweet it out. Tweet out the link to your blog, and just to increase visitors to that blog. I saw him in Anaheim at a conference for professional photographers. And he was teaching professional photographers how to use Twitter to improve their businesses, to show that they're experts. And he said, and then the way he brought Alltop in is he said, and if you run out of unique content to create yourself, then go to alltop.com. And what we do at alltop.com is we have pages of articles that you can link to. So there's a page for professional photographers with dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of articles that can be used by professional photographers in their tweets. So what he's really doing is he's going out there and he's acquiring armies of tweeters that are tweeting links back to Alltop so that Alltop can get the advertising revenue. So now he has figured out how to drive enough volume of visitors because he's got all these professional photographers tweeting links to Alltop. He's got and then all kinds of different people. So he's added an exponential element of volume to this. Great idea, but really hard to implement. Anybody recognize this person? Ali Sarda, 2011, 2010 engineer. He's now running well.ca, a very well-known business out of Guelph. Very successful, and I'm sure he's, if you haven't seen him speak, you'll probably get him to speak. Yes, is he on the list?
He's on the list, yes, we'll get him soon. We'll get him.
He's a great speaker. So I'm not going to, so I'll pass through this because I won't steal his thunder. No, I will tell you one story. So he's like think of him as Shoppers Drug Mart for the back. So well.ca. But one of the things he'll tell you about is when he talks to you or when you see him is a few years ago his company made the decision to stop charging shipping fees. Free shipping. As a result, if you're in Nunavut, and you need a tube of toothpaste, you can just go online, no shipping fees, tube of toothpaste arrives whenever. So he's the biggest vendor of this kind of stuff in Nunavut and the Northwest Territories. But as soon as he made the decision to remove shipping, sales went absolutely up like this, skyrocketed, fabulous change. But what I think about is the courage that him and his management team had to make such a radical decision. Let's remove shipping fees. What a courageous decision to make. And it's paid off in spades. Be ready for those courageous decisions. They're going to come to you. Okay, next. Okay, so here's my, who was I talking about? Gabe? Where's Gabe Chan? So there's a lot of, yeah, there you go. So there's a lot of names, a lot of people here that you'll recognize. Jackie Lee, one of the most interesting people I've ever met, one of the most interesting women I've ever met. She's often around, you'll see her, and I urge you to have her speak or to meet. Mike from Top Hat Monocle. Morgan, who's another one of the most interesting people I've ever met from Go Vision. He's a UT-Med. So all fairly successful entrepreneurs, I give them all their credit for achieving what they've achieved so far. But I just wanted to bring a cautionary note to you as an entrepreneur with these, and use these 6 as an example. There's one thing that is common in the business, in all 6 of these businesses. Does anybody know the businesses enough, or can anybody see the commonality, the common theme? While I steal a drink. Yeah.
They're all under the age of 30.
They're all under the age of 30. Yeah, okay, that's fine. That's not the theme I was looking for, but thanks. Yeah.
Dropped out of school to start.
Dropped out of school to start it. No, I think some of them, maybe some of them did, but I think they've all got their degrees. So, yeah.
They leverage social media to drive user interactions.
Yeah, good one. Liz.
Targeting students?
Targeting students, that's the one I was looking for. So what they've done, thank you. So what they've done is each one of their businesses in different ways has something to do with the educational experience. They came out of school, burning desire to be entrepreneurs. They probably inside of school they started these things. Burning desire to be entrepreneurs. And they went to found a company on something that they knew, some piece of education. And they're doing okay. But what I suggest to you, as you think about your business, your entrepreneurial ventures, is look beyond what you know today. Look beyond school, because there are a lot of entrepreneurs like you that will, by default, try to build a company about what they know, about something to do with school. And there's a lot of competition for you out there if you do that. You're competing with these guys, very, very sharp people. And you're competing with a lot of others. So I suggest to you, one strategy is get to know another business. Maybe go out there and learn something about manufacturing, or mining, or something about retail. Spend a couple of years and figure that out. And go and then disrupt that business. Go, Sun Tzu, go where your enemy is not. You're competing against other entrepreneurs your age. Now, the positive side of this is that I hinted at it earlier at the beginning. You're in this unique situation. I've seen generations of entrepreneurs, 25 years of entrepreneurs come through. And what they've had is, all they've had that's different, through generations is faster and smaller, faster computing and smaller computing. And, phones have come around and internet's come around. But with today, the tools that you have, the ways that you can build successful businesses are so vast, and you're the only ones that get it. My generation doesn't get Facebook, and we barely get Twitter, if anything. All these ideas that I just talked about, my generation don't get it. You get it. You guys can, connect the dots to create some incredibly disruptive, game-changing businesses. Don't just stick to education. Yeah, you can do well. These guys have proven it, but it's a competitive market. Go out there and disrupt something new. Okay, quickly, I'm not going to talk about all these, but there's also interesting stories from bricks and mortar, old organizations. I'm going to just talk about Ceridian and ADP. Who can tell me what Ceridian? Ceridian and ADP are very similar. They do the same business. What kind of business are they?
Security.
Security?
For online.
Online security. That's part of the business. It's not what I'm looking for. Yeah, payroll. Yeah, so their business is payroll processing. So I'm TD Bank. I've got 50,000 employees. I have to pay them every 2 weeks. Some I direct deposit, some I check. I pay by checks. And it's not a core competency of mine. And it costs a lot of money to process that payroll. And Ceridian and ADP, their business primarily, and they do security, but their primary business is outsourcing payroll processing. So TD charges them a fee, and because of economies of scale, these companies can do the payroll processing cheaper. So, how do they make money? It's not immediately obvious how they make money. I'll tell you, if anybody figures it out before I tell you, great. shout it out. So they don't make money on the outsourcing fee. So they don't make money on the outsourcing fee. They just do that as a break even. So whatever they charge TD Bank to do the payroll processing, they break even on. Here's where they make money. TD has to pay their people at midnight on Thursday. In order to process the payroll, ADP has to receive the funds for the payroll of, remember, 50,000 employees on Tuesday at 4. What's that?
They make interest.
They make money, hang on. They make money on the float. They make money on the interest that they can make, on the investments that they can make from 4 o'clock on Tuesday to midnight on Thursday. So it's not immediately obvious how companies make money. Don't take it for granted. Canadian Tire, their core competency is logistics, not retail. Their stores are franchise. They make their money on logistics, distribution. Well, I think we're in the home stretch. Last one, Mabel's Labels. Anybody use Mabel's? I bet you half of your Mabel's Labels customers. So, Mabel's Labels out of Ancaster, Ontario, out of Hamilton. Great little business. It's online. They produce labels for when kids go to camp, summer camp, and you put your label, your name on the back of all your clothes, so that you don't get your clothes, you don't lose your clothes. Simple business. And I had my kids go to camp a couple years ago, and I was looking around, how do I get labels for my kids? I didn't even know this company existed. And like within a day, I had 4 mothers tell me, "Oh, you got to use Mabel's Labels." Right, great name. I went to Mabel's Labels. I spent 5 minutes. I spent $40 in 5 minutes. And all it was is just a bunch of labels. I mean, talk about beautiful on the other side, right? I press the button, pay, and then out somewhere in Ancaster, out of a laser printer, comes my labels. And all they have to do is shove it in an envelope, put the sticker on, process my $40 payment, and it's done. I mean, okay, so there's interesting, sealant on the glue on the paper. What a low-cost business and all electronic. Really nice. Now, I heard rumor that Mabel's Labels was talked about at TEDx. Is it Velocity? Is it Velocity? Velocity. Okay, so I want to know about that. Is that a repeat then? Have you seen that story? Do you know that story? Because I don't want to say that you guys all know about it. Do you guys want to know about this story?
No, I don't. I know.
I'll keep it on. Looks like I should keep it on. Okay, so we talked about all these companies. So here's 9 books that I love. If you're looking for it, I can email this check to you. If there's only one book that you read out of this, it's this one. This is a classic from the 30s, but it's absolutely great. Those are some ways that you can contact me. I guess I went a little over my 45 minutes, but follow me on Twitter and email me and let me know your story, and connect with me on LinkedIn. So let's do this. It's 12 after 8. Let's take questions for 10 minutes until 25 after 8. Let's do that formally. And then at 25 after 8, we'll stop. And for those of you who need to get out and leave, we'll give like a 30 seconds for those of you who need to leave and who want to leave. No shame. And then I'll stay here and I'll stay answering questions as long as you want. Okay? That seem fair? Okay. Unless there's no questions, and then we can all leave right now. But hopefully there's questions, because I'd like to hear from you. Yeah?
What are some of the most prominent mistakes you see on the first day you did?
So the question was, what are the most prominent mistakes that I see? Respect for the financials. So understanding the financial implications of your business and doing projections. Do the pro forma, income statements and balance sheets. Do the pro forma cash flows. Really understand what the implications are of your financials, and really think them through, because everything interrelates. And you can't, it's not an unlimited supply of money. So that's one. The other is execution and not respecting the amount of thought that you have to put into executing on your plan. No matter what business it is, you really need to. What I don't see enough of is in business plans is how are you actually going to do it? Oh yeah, we're going to have 100,000 users in after we launch. 30 days after launch, we're going to have 100,000 users. A lot of million users after 12 months. Well, how? How? So the example of the custom QR codes was a hint at a unique approach at how. They thought a little further than, well, we'll tweet, we'll blog, and we'll have a Facebook page. How are you going to do that? And so those are the top answers that come to mind. Next question.
What successful startups are you part of?
What successful startups am I part of?
Yeah.
This is going to be successful. And they're already going. He sold 3,000 seats to Texas Charter.
I mean, like, what led you to become motivations?
So what led me to?
Yeah, like your successful startups that led you to do this, right?
Oh, to let me to do this. Yeah, so I've been involved in lots like Top Hat Monocle and Sweet Tooth and others. My own experiences with corner office leads. I founded that 10 years ago, and commercialized a disruptive methodology for its own marketplace, and built it up, and I'm here now. Yeah.
So I was wondering, what are the 3 things you would say to students, that are graduating or they're currently in school? What are the 3 main things you would say to, for them to, go about what they want to do, and how would they do that successfully? What are the key things?
So the question is, what are the 3 key things that I would say to a student that's going to school or just about to graduate? I can't make a general comment. I spend a lot of time one-on-one with students, just chatting, over half an hour over a coffee and getting to know them, and I can, far better answer that question one-on-one, because it really depends on what you're trying to achieve. But, dare to dream, I think, is one of the themes that I'm trying to convey here, is you're in a unique position as an entrepreneur, because of the skills. Gosh, things like LinkedIn, the power that you have to network is incredible. So, I believe it's a truism that in your 20s and 30s, it's your resume that will get you your jobs. In your 40s and 50s, it's your contacts that will get you your jobs, or if you're an entrepreneur, your business, your customers. It's your network in your 40s and 50s. I think that social changes that completely. It might take that down to, it's your 30s, it's going to be all about social. I had 6 terms at IBM. I went full-time. I went through the basic sales training. I've spent 4 years at IBM, full-time. And I don't stay in touch with anybody from any of the people I met at IBM. And it's a tragedy that I don't. It's just that I've lost touch with them. And some come in and out of my life 20 years later. But if I had the power of just LinkedIn to be able to stay connected with them, even at a distance, then I could be leveraging today the network of people that I met back in my IBM days. You're going to do that. That's just going to happen. Your networks when you're 40 is just going to be so insanely powerful to get things done. It's going to be all about who you know and who's 1 degree of separation away from you. You guys are going to be just wait till you're in your 40s. It's going to be crazy. Crazy. And for me, it's all about who do I know, or who's 1 degree of separation. And I'm going to have such a small group. Okay, next question. Yeah.
Do you think entrepreneurship can be taught? Like there are many entrepreneurship programs out there, especially here at the university. We have some programs as well. So, what do you think?
So the question is, do I think that entrepreneurship can be taught? I had an interesting conversation a couple of weeks ago with a very good friend, very thoughtful person, and he said that entrepreneurship demands, innovation demands pain. You must be hurting, you must be in pain, you must have a great need in order to truly innovate. I would say it's in your heart, is my first reaction to that. It's easy for you to be enamored by this world of entrepreneurialism that's at UW. There's so many easy ways that you can become an entrepreneur. But can you really become an entrepreneur? Can you really pay the price price that's required to, to truly be successful. The people that we hear in Zuckerberg's and Jobs and all those paid a huge, huge price. Sergey and Larry, they paid a huge price that we don't even know about. They had to be pretty driven to do that. So it's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I'm saying, I gotta say, no. It has to come from the heart. But I'd love you to prove me wrong. Next question. Yeah.
To your knowledge, are the founders of these new web startups, especially these SaaS websites, are the founders themselves highly technically competent themselves? Like, kind of like Zuckerberg on a smaller scale, like are they themselves able to iterate really fast their MVP? Or is it that they came up with a really good business model?
So your question is, are the founders of these SaaS companies more technical, or did they just sort of by fluke hand it?
Yeah, they were able to
So,
also find.
so by the way, I said Larry and Sergey. I don't want you in any way to think that I'm on a first name basis with those guys. I don't want to mislead in any way. So I'm not sure I know the answer to that, but I can tell you that every successful business must understand the business. You just get involved in business plan competitions, watch them. Watch the venture fund when it comes back here. Watch those pitches, see those pitches, and watch how the judges ask questions and analyze the presentations. It all comes down to running a successful business. It's fluke if you're putting too much at risk if you think it's the technology, and you're putting a lot at risk if you think it's the people. I've heard lots of business plans presentations that say, "Oh, and we're passionate." Well, judges don't care about your passion. They care about analytical thought behind the business plan. So you really do. It's not just the technology; it's the business. It's understanding how it all interacts. It's taking innovative ideas like all the ideas and lessons I've given you here, connecting those dots in different ways that nobody's ever thought about before, in a way that makes money. Next. 2 more minutes and then we'll finish. Yeah.
So SaaS companies, if I recall, if they are B2B, then the ratio of, say, business to technical folks, right now they should be even. But what about, say, SaaS that are more consumer-oriented? Should there be different ratios for them?
So your question is, you've heard that in B2B SaaS businesses that the ratio of business to tech is 50-50?
Oh, should be.
Should be. And your question is should the ratio stay the same if it's B2C? I really haven't. I haven't given that much thought. I also think. It's a great question. Those ratios really depend on what your strategy is. It depends on how fast you want to be adding new functionality to your product, which will determine how many, what the ratio of how many technical folks that you need on it. It depends on your go-to-market strategy and what kind of business people you need on it. It really depends on the strategy. So I don't think there's any hard and fast ratios. You've got to have the courage. You've got to have the courage to avoid using those industry standard ratios. If you use the industry, an argument can be made. I could argue that if you use all the industry standard ratios, you're just going to be like everybody else. You got to do something that's different, right? These are stories of different, unique things, in your businesses. That's the best answer I can give you. One more question, and then I'll finish. Go ahead. Oh, two more. Okay, you go first.
No, there's not very serious here, so this question is a little bit different. Maybe it doesn't pertain to everybody. What do you suggest, or what would be like your guidelines for like first year, of like what we should be looking out for, what we should be doing if we want to venture into like the world of entrepreneurship in our later years?
So your question is, as a first-year student, what should you be doing?
Basically, like, what do you recommend?
What would I recommend that you do to start on the path towards entrepreneurship in your later years? Velocity, co-op. There's a lot of different ways of doing it, right? You can go out and do co-op terms at big companies. so you can learn the business. Jay from Sweet Tooth did that. He's got, he just got, what, $2.7 million and then another $700,000 in funding in the summer from Homers. He's got 27 people working for him up at the Accelerator Center. He had a co-op job doing loyalty programs for one of the retail arms of one of the Shell gas stations or Esso gas stations or Petro-Canada or something. And he was focused on loyalty programs, points and badges for them. He left that co-op term and built a business. There were other co-op terms for building his business. So that's one way to do it. Just do things like this. There's this fabulous community of entrepreneurs, led by the society and others. There's so many entrepreneurial things going on. I've said hi to faces, people that I've seen over the last 2-3 years tonight. Stay involved in this community, right? And feed off the enthusiasm of this community because you're all here because you're passionate about it. It's great. So that's part of it. This is this campus is the greatest place to be. KW is the greatest place to be for young entrepreneurs. It beats all the rest of them. And I visited them, so you're in absolutely the right place. Yeah. One more question.
We've talked a lot about connecting the dots and figuring things out. Does that mostly come from experience, or is it more the analytical thinking and the skills you picked up along the way?
So your question is, to connect the dots, do you need the skills and the analytical thinking that you gather along the way?
No, what I'm saying is does it more come from just root co-op experience and going out in the field, or is it a thing that you can read about and sort of know in class and still not be able to apply that?
I think it can come from all kinds of different ways, right? The Mouse House guys did it in class. They were researching mice colonies, so they got it from their, whether it's a class or co-op experiences. I don't think I'm answering your question.
No, I think you're doing. I think that's it. I mean, you've given examples where people have come from experiences and have seen, like the gamification example that you just said, where they did a co-op term and then they turned something like that into a business. Whereas other examples where people have just had knowledge, like the mouse example, and they've developed that. What plays in your experience? What plays a bigger part?
I don't think there's any. There's not one place that you can find out. Keep your eyes open. It's keeping your eyes open for and looking at things in a different way. What I'm hoping, another element of what I'm hoping about this presentation is it gives you some tools to look at the things that pass by your desk, by your laptop, in a different way. How would I innovate that? Okay, I'm learning about that. How would I do something different? How can I apply some of the things that I learned in Steve's presentation or I learned from my reading that I can think differently and bring something different to it? I'm thinking, this Mouse House thing makes me think, I want to go to all my friends and say to them that are in business and say, what's the most complicated spreadsheet that you've got? Or what's the spreadsheet that has the most business impact? And turn it into an application. Turn it in and figure out if there's an element of data aggregation amongst lots of customers that are using a similar type of spreadsheet to manage some major part of their business. I'll just automate it, data aggregate, SaaS it, and there's all kinds of fabulous business that comes from it. And the reason why I say data aggregation is because what the aggregation should do is create extra value to each of the individual customers. So one closing thing about connecting the dots, you made a comment about connecting the dots. I heard this. This is hilarious. This is a great example of connecting the dots. So drones, everybody know about the drones in Afghanistan and so there's a company that's come out at Stanford University called Taco Copter. You can step out of your building, you go to your mobile app, and order a taco, and it's delivered to you by a drone helicopter. Okay, so turns out, this guy my age that gave a presentation before me on Sunday at this conference, he told that story. And I thought, oh my God, this just blows me away. I love this connecting the dots, right? Food delivery from a drone? Oh my God. 10 minutes are free apparently. But I looked it up because I was so excited. Apparently it's a hoax. So I was really excited about today because I didn't think it was a hoax. I said, this is Stanford's doing it. Waterloo's got to do something similar. We're going to take over in the drone food delivery business. But it's a hoax, but it's still a great example of a totally different, unique way of connecting these dots together to create a totally different business. So let's take a couple minutes. Let's finish the formal part. We'll reconvene in five. For those of you who need to leave. For those of you who want to stay, I'll go as long as you want. I'm happy to do that. But let's let the people that want to leave. Thank you very much. That was great. Very nice.
I want to thank Steve for sharing his valuable insights, and he shared some very game-changing ideas, and it's really going forward, it's really going to put us ahead of the curve. And as a small token of appreciation, we have a small gift for you.
Get the shirt. So pull the shirt out?
No. Thank you. We also have a t-shirt to give away.
Oh, I got my Twitter. Go ahead.
Sure. And we chose the name Avenda, and the winner is Maher Maher. Sorry if I said the name wrong. There you go. And I think that's it, folks. And Steve will be sticking around for if you want to talk one-on-one.